Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to my latest video. Unless you are new, then I'll just say welcome for the first time here. I like to make these little videos about things I enjoy and want to share, usually about film, and usually either like an 80s or 90s throwback for something that's been forgotten, or something along the lines of horror. But in this case, I'm going for something a bit newer. But before we begin, if you enjoy this little video here, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to maybe even hit that little subscribe and hit that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is once or twice a week. That way you could pop in during that first hour, which really helps out the algorithm quite a bit, as does perusing my back catalog and sharing both this video and channel around. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, I took a bit of a different route with this video in that it's not horror and it's not like an old 80s or 90s throwback film. We have something very new, which is of course expected to be a blockbuster film, with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which just came out today actually. Though I'm sure you already know what it's about. Let me just read a little synopsis here, which states: the people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa. Of course, this is all going to be a non-spoiler one. I'm only going to speak about what's kind of any details about what was already revealed within trailers and using footage of which as well. But yeah, this was this one really throws us right into learning that King T'Challa has died, seeing how his mother and his sister and how Wakanda in general has kind of reacted to the situation, reacted to his passing. And this was very rough to see due to Chadwick Boseman actually having passed away not that long ago, or I guess it's about 2 years now. They even dedicate the opening, Marvel logo to Chadwick in this kind of like a silent tribute, which is really great to see. And but aside from what was mentioned in that synopsis, there's a lot more going on in this film, because they need to bring us up to speed with, where Wakanda is on the world stage at this point. Having been, after the events of the original Black Panther, where Wakanda is entering that world stage as a superpower, pledging to open things up, share what they have with the world, and gradually let more information about their reclusive country be known. And then of course along with that we also have, there were the events of the snap in Infinity War, the snap back in Endgame, and the repercussions that we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So not only that, we also have to introduce Namor and his whole underwater kingdom, how he and his kingdom kind of came to be, why they're venturing out of the ocean, what is troubling them, and what kind of threat are they. And finally, we get Riri. In the trailer, we see this character of Riri, who will eventually be known as Ironheart, coming into the MCU. This woman who is, this genius and kind of builds her own kind of Iron Man inspired suit. But so we need to spend some time getting to know about her, why she's even in this story, which, to prevent any spoilers, I'll simply say it's important and she's a major factor in the overall story of this. So there's a lot to catch up on, which also explains that 2-hour and 45-minute runtime for this film. It is a bit long. But of course, the big question that many would have is, how is Shuri, as the new Black Panther? Realize I keep saying Siri instead of Shuri. Anyway, so how's Shuri with, being the new Black Panther? Well, not good yet. And what I mean by that is, part of the arc of this film is that, should there even be a new Black Panther in their society? This struggle between scientific progress, diplomacy, and tradition. And by the time we kind of get to this new Black Panther coming onto the stage, she's not perfect. And I would dare say she isn't even ready to be the new Black Panther. Shuri has a lot going on upstairs, and I would have thought it very unrealistic, despite, all that suspension of disbelief that you need to have when going into a comic book inspired film, if she just put on that suit and kind of owned it, and everything was perfect, and she was this great Black Panther. Sure, she's strong and capable, and, very smart, but, her motivation is very dark. She's filled with a lot of grief and vengeance, due in part to having lost her brother, but also regarding this war that's kind of starting to brew due to Namor's arrival. So it was nice to see that it wasn't some perfect transition that she's taking the mantle, but that she has this struggle, this kind of like crisis that's going on. But I know there are a few times within the film where things kind of slow down as we're seeing what's happening between Wakanda and, with Namor's arrival and what the world stage is thinking. There are some points where it does slow down a bit. A little bit more for my taste, but it was pretty much on par with how the first film was paced out. just with a little bit more on the line here. It's much more expansive than what was happening in the original Black Panther. They kind of pull us in a lot of different directions, and I mean, even the locations for this one, we have stuff in Wakanda, in the US, in Cuba, and Switzerland, the Atlantic, and down in Namor's kingdom. There's a lot going on in this. The best way I could describe it is that, like, picture watching all of Loki in one sitting. You know, you get several episodes, each one kind of handling a different part of that overall story. And the way that I see this one by comparison is kind of a condensed story. So we take stuff that normally I could see them putting into a 6-episode series and condensing it down from that, 3 to 5 hours into a 2-hour and 45-minute film instead. If any of that makes any sense. So it does feel like we're seeing a lot of content at once that they probably could have spaced out over a series, but it was great to be able to sit and see everything all at once. 2 hours and 45 minutes, get the entire story arc going. Because one thing that Marvel, I feel like they've always done right, in my opinion, is how to introduce characters. It didn't take long for me to care about Riri and Namor. They kind of tug at the heartstrings throughout this. And then they also got me on board with Namor himself in a similar way that they do with Thanos, where they have a point, you might agree, but not the methods and, where they're kind of jumping to in order to handle something, that I cannot get on board with. So to make you really understand where Namor's coming from. So you'll be as, struggling with wondering what to do with this as Shuri's character is. But yeah, this one, definitely beat me up emotionally with the T'Challa / Boseman stuff, as well as, the threats on and from Namor. And, they put quite a bit into this, which I felt it just kind of seemed bigger than their more recent films. Possibly because we have more familiar faces in this one compared to their other films like Shang-Chi and Eternals, where you didn't really know the characters that well. So they had to spend a different kind of amount of time trying to get you on board with them. We have more tying us to this story and these characters going in. Yet it also feels a bit more serious and dramatic, and the situation a lot more dire than what we saw in Thor: Love and Thunder, which was a much more lighthearted kind of story with a lot more comedy in it. But yeah, as I wrap this one up, I'm definitely recommending this one, needless to say. It held up to all the excitement that I had for this one coming out, that I felt like we are getting launched back into a bigger film that we're used to seeing from Marvel. And I figured, even though I usually don't make videos for very new things for my channel, I just decided, just like the one that I did for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I'll just go ahead and make a video, see if people like it, even if it doesn't really take off. But anyways, thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Be sure to go ahead and check out Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's definitely worth seeing in the theater on the giant screen. I know a lot of people have been waiting for streaming these days because this thing will probably be on Disney Plus within 2 months. But it really is worth getting out to the theater, seeing it on that giant screen, especially this opening weekend with a huge crowd. I always feel like that's part of the Marvel experience. So anyways, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to check out this movie, and I will see you in the next one.